All right, welcome everybody. This is the Detox Project webinar. I'm super pumped to be with you today. I'm Dr. Erin Sousley. This is my lovely wife, Dr. Erin.
Hello.
We also have Cece McClintick on with us today. She's a functional nutritionist, certified nutrition therapy practitioner. We are about to give you some incredible, valuable information all about toxicity and how to safely and effectively detoxify your health in your home. So I'm going to jump right into it. So I'm going to minimize our video here, and then I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint, and we will just get right into it. Sweet. So again, this is the Detox Project. We're going to talk about how to renew your energy through true cellular healing. And I think one of the main reasons why we decided to do a webinar on this topic is because studies are now showing that toxins are very, very harmful for our health, but they also deplete energy and they create fatigue and hormone imbalances. And ultimately, they just prevent us from being as healthy as we could be. And the way that my wife and I think about this and have thought about it for years is that we believe there's this superhero inside of all of us, whether you're a super mom or a super dad or whatever, you have this amazing potential that's inside of you. And in order for you to live your best life, you have to have your best health. And so that's our mission. One of the reasons why we created a health and wellness clinic that's now become one of the biggest clinics in the country. We have a podcast. We do tons of events like this, is because our mission is to help people win their health so that they can win their life. And we all want to be like the people in these pictures. We all want to be the superheroes of our story. So that's what we're hopefully going to enable you and empower you to be able to do with the information today. But I also want you to know that just like anything else, my pastor always says, it's not information that changes you, it's information plus application that creates the transformation. So what I want you to focus on as you're watching this webinar is focus on those one or two things that you can apply to your life and take action on. That's where you'll see the transformation. It's not just from learning a bunch of really cool stuff. And our promise to you today is that you will learn simple steps to detoxify your body without wasting time and money so that you can have unlimited energy and abundant health. And for sticking around to the end, we're also going to give you a free gift called the 21-Day Detox Jumpstart. This was a group effort. However, I will say that Dr. Erin spearheaded this project, and she put well over 100 hours into this ebook. So it's over 25 pages. And it's going to give you a synopsis of everything that we're going to talk about today. And most importantly, it's going to give you step-by-step action items so that you can start to apply this stuff into your everyday life. Because again, if you don't take action, it's not going to do anything for you. We're also going to talk about a special offer just for people that watch this webinar. If you're the type of person that wants more than just information, you want to take it to the next level, we've put together a really, really interesting offer that we'll talk about at the very end. So hang tight for that. Just a little bit about us. My wife and I, we moved to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho about 8 years ago. So we're both chiropractors. We're both doctors of functional medicine. I'm big into triathlons. Erin's big into just health and research and making sure that our family stays healthy. She's also a college athlete. So we've done some triathlons together over the years. But ultimately, we're just kind of nerds when it comes to being healthy and maximizing potential. Like I said in the beginning, we believe that there's this superpower inside of all of us. And it's the same superpower that enables someone to do an Ironman triathlon as it is for, Erin to be a super mom and take care of 3 kids, soon to be 4. It's the same potential. And our mission is to help you activate that potential by being truly healthy. And so we do workshops in our office. We speak all over the country at different seminars and schools to educate and empower other health professionals and the public to be their best. And that's kind of us in a nutshell. And we include our family in the process. We really do practice what we preach. It doesn't mean we know it all. We've just been striving towards optimal health and learning for the last 15 years. So hopefully some stuff that we have learned and maybe failed in, that's the thing. I mean, we kind of use our family as a test ground to try all this stuff and research and, study it. And so by the time it gets to you, you can rest assured that we've tried it, we've implemented it, and that, it's been beta tested, and it's not just something that we read in a book. So 3 keys to success today. Number 1, like I said in the beginning, you got to take action. If you don't take action, it's not going to get you anywhere, just like with anything else in your life. Number 2, though, this is important. A lot of people think that they have to be perfect in order to move forward. You do not. You just have to make progress, right? The way you run a marathon is 1 step at a time. So even if we just get you to take the first step today or the first couple of steps, you're going to be well on your way. And it's not a sprint. Life is a marathon, and it's not about the destination. It's the journey along the way. We've all heard that. We want to help you have the healthiest journey as possible. And then number 3 is we want you to focus on why you're doing this. So I know if you're watching this webinar, chances are you want to clean up your lifestyle. You want to have better energy. Maybe you want to get off some medications or just avoid sickness and disease. We do too. But really the reason why people fail is because why they're doing it is very, very small, or it's just about you. And I want you to think about the big picture. God's put you here on the planet for, more reasons than just you and yourself. If you can anchor to your big why, we've all heard that if the why is big enough, the how figures itself out. And that's kind of true. How is it that a mom who never lifts weights can all of a sudden lift a vehicle off of her child who's been run over or something like that? It's because the why is so big and so powerful that all of a sudden she's able to muster up all this supernatural strength that, she had all along. She just never used it because there wasn't a big enough reason. So we want to help you tap into that hidden potential that you already have. It's not something that you have to wait for or go buy. It's already inside of you. You just have to be able to tap into it. And your why is totally how you do that. And then last thing is I want you to imagine what it's going to be like when you do, right? I think one of my favorite concepts of all time, and one of the ways that I've been able to be a college athlete, complete 7 Ironman triathlons, sustain a really amazing spirit-led marriage and family, and grow a thriving business, is because I put myself at the finish line. And that's what I want you to start doing. Is I want you to imagine yourself at the end, or at the finish line. Not the end of your life, but at the end of the goal, and how good it's going to feel. And your finish line looks different than mine and everybody else's. But if you can define what that finish line looks like, feels like, smells like, tastes like, right? What other people are going to say about it. If you can recruit all of these sensations and emotions, and you can imagine what it's going to feel like at the finish line, that's the thing that's going to sustain you in those moments where you want to give up, you want to give in, you want to throw in the towel, you want to say it's not worth it, or I've tried it and I failed and I'm no good. You can totally do it. But if you anchor your mindset to the finish line and what it's going to be like, that'll be the thing that keeps you moving forward. And I also want you to know that this isn't just us saying this. We've helped literally over 10,000 patients now in our careers, both in office and around the country. And, we've got thousands of testimonials, and this is just one of the most recent ones that I really enjoyed hearing about. And hopefully it encourages you a little bit too. This is a patient of ours named Steven. And Steven came in to see us a few years ago, and he was overweight. He had allergies, sinus issues, major fatigue, low energy, weight loss resistance, hormone imbalance, had a lot of joint pain just from a sedentary lifestyle and being a little bit overweight, really inflammatory diet. And, we helped him get rid of all of that stuff, right? Through the power of chiropractic, cleaning up his lifestyle, helping him detoxify his health and his home. And what I love about it is not only did he lose 65 pounds, you can read all this stuff on the screen. He lost 65 pounds, no more allergies, no more sinus issues, no more fatigue, increased energy, no more pain, which is great. Those are all great short-term things. But here's what I love about it the most. And this is what I hope you get out of today. He learned and sustained, not just tried once or twice and yo-yoed back and forth, but he learned and sustained a healthy lifestyle so that he would be able to, so his finish line was to travel the world. I know he does that with his mom. He takes his mom. They just got back from Paris just a couple of weeks ago, and his mom's raving about how much fun they had. The old Steven wouldn't have been able to do that. And so ultimately that's our goal. We want to get you as healthy as possible so that you can achieve whatever it is that you feel called and led to in life. And really that's what we all want. It's not just about 6-pack abs. It's about creating memories and leaving a lasting legacy through having this epic, amazing life story. So if Steven can do it, so can you. So I want to lay a foundation here before I give it over to Dr. Erin. who's going to blow your socks off with some amazing science and research and action steps about toxicity and disease. But I want to lay a foundation before she gets into that, just about what is toxicity anyway. It's this term that gets thrown around, especially if you're, kind of dabble in the health and wellness world. We've all heard of toxins and toxicity and detoxification and cleanses and all these things. Well, I want to break it down and make it really, really simple. There are basically two types of toxicity. There's the acute toxicity, which we're all very familiar with, right? Like you go in the garage and you drink a bottle of gasoline. That's obviously acute toxicity. That's go to the hospital, 911, pump your stomach, drugs, surgery, whatever the case is, poison. That's obvious, right? We don't need to spend a lot of time talking about not doing that. But usually, it's very rare. That doesn't happen very often. What's more insidious and more prevalent is the chronic toxicity. Now, we all know that we shouldn't drink what's under our sink, right? Or in the cleaning cupboard or the garage. However, what's interesting is the same types of toxic chemicals are entering our bloodstream and our bodies, and they're slowly bioaccumulating in our system. It's just that we're unaware because it's just such a slow drip. And we're getting these things from personal care products. We're getting them from environmental pollutants. We're getting them from cleaners and detergents. And it's so subtle that you don't typically notice a symptom or a negative response right away. In fact, for many people, it takes years or even decades before you start to manifest any kind of health issues whatsoever, which actually makes it more like, I wish you'd actually have symptoms immediately when you used a personal care product with a chemical in it, because it would be a signal to your mindset and your body that, hey, this isn't good for me. But that it just doesn't happen. They slowly accumulate in your system. And that's what chronic toxicity really is, right? So we're going to uncover where these toxins come from in your lifestyle and in your environment so that you can start to get those out of your system and out of your life. And really, the way that you can think about this is your body's like a giant bucket, right? And the more toxins that you're exposed to on a regular basis throughout your life, these toxins start to accumulate in your body. And at certain points, you start to experience different symptoms, right? One of the most common symptoms of toxicity or bioaccumulation of toxins in the body is fatigue. And these guys are gonna talk about the science behind that and the chemical breakdown of how that happens. But essentially, as you become more and more toxic, you start to get tired, your hormones get thrown off. And then in the later stages, it literally starts to manifest as dysfunction and disease. And so the goal of everything that you're going to learn today, to give you this kind of picture right here, is that your body is like a bucket. And step number one is to stop putting toxins in the bucket. Listen, you're going to hear some amazing strategies and tips about how to empty the bucket, right? Like how to detoxify your body. And we're going to talk about a true cellular detox that's nobody else out there is doing this. So this is super powerful. And it's way beyond just doing a foot cleanse or a colon or kidney cleanse. However, if you do that, you spend all this time, energy, and money doing the cleanses and the detox, but then you're not stopping the toxins from coming back in, right? It's like drilling a hole in the bottom of the bucket to get the toxins out, but then putting a hose in the top and you're just filling it right back up. So obviously you don't want to do that because it's frustrating and it's not effective. So step number one is stop putting the toxins in. Step number two is get the toxins that are already in out. All right, Dr. Erin, take it away.
Okay, I am going to limit the distraction by turning off my camera for a few minutes, but I'm going to be talking about toxicity and how it can lead to disease. You really can't talk about toxicity without discussing, the devastating effects on the body. And it's not really surprising that most of the data that we have on the effects of environmental toxins have only really started coming out in research over the last decade and really in the last 5 years. So in a few minutes, we're going to be looking at Alzheimer's disease. This is a disease that has affected my family personally. I lost my paternal grandfather to Alzheimer's disease when I was a teenager. And I just remember him being the sweetest, kindest, most gentle man. And when he was diagnosed, he became a very violent person, angry person, and as everybody knows, with Alzheimer's, you tend to lose your memories. And so he didn't even know who I was anymore. And that was really devastating, but it left a huge mark on me, and actually was part of the reason why I decided to get into wellness, so that I could really learn how to avoid something like that. And then a decade later, my maternal grandmother, who I was very close to, my mom's mom, she began to lose her memory. And over time, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And very, very sad, because she was physically very, very healthy. She was fit. Pretty much, the picture of somebody who looked very healthy. And I think because of that, she's actually stayed alive with the disease. And that is unfortunate, because she's now suffering significantly. She can't dress herself. She can't bathe herself. She can't feed herself. She can't carry on a normal conversation, although she tries, but it never makes any sense. And it is very, very hard. Her husband, my grandfather, is still alive. They're 90 years old, and he's still there by her side. But she has no idea really who he is. And so you guys just get my drift. This is not something that really we would wish upon anybody. And that's why we're doing this, because we're starting to realize that there are things that we can do and steps that we can take to avoid this. So I want to show you just a rough idea. This is a table that shows the percentage of certain diseases, the percentage of cases that are now being linked to certain toxins in the research. This is not an exhaustive list by any means. This is just a sample to give you an idea, because I know when I first started learning about toxicity many years ago, it was very nebulous. I never really understood what it meant, and was it really true that it could, really cause disease? But now the research is clear. So if you look at diabetes, for example, which we're going to uncover more in depth in just a second, there are 3 different toxins alone on this table. In phthalates at the top, responsible for 16 to 40% of type 2 diabetes. PCBs are another toxin. PAHs at the bottom there, 16 to 40% of cases. So now we're seeing this epidemic of type 2 diabetes, which we once thought was, largely diet related, exercise related, but now there's this toxicity component that we need to start paying attention to. Heart disease as well, specifically heart attacks being linked to PCB exposure over time. Cancer, you can see, there are so many carcinogens that humans are exposed to, but just to give you an idea, arsenic, typically found in water, also found in chicken, in rice, but responsible for up to 40% of bladder cancer cases, up to 15% of lung cancer cases for PAHs. And then finally, thyroid disease, this is one that's running rampant for females, up to 15% of those cases linked to PCB exposure over time. So, this is not just something that people are starting to discuss. This is something that's actually been shown in the research, and we need to start taking action. So let's look at type 2 diabetes. These are some pretty sobering statistics. So if you look at the time frame between 1990 and 2010, the number of diabetics has tripled. Okay, so that's a big red flag for me. What is happening? What are we doing wrong as a culture to have so many people becoming diabetic in such a short period of time? In 2015, almost 9.5% of our population had type 2 diabetes, 30 million Americans. 84 million at that time were considered pre-diabetic, so well on their way to diabetes. The total cost is something that is really devastating. So $327 billion in 2017 alone was spent on treating diabetes in our country. That's expected to double by 2030. And people with this disease do suffer. It's not just, oh, well, I'm going to take a medication to control my blood sugar levels. No, these people end up with cardiovascular disease, neuropathy, kidney issues, eye issues, skin issues, healing problems, hearing, Alzheimer's disease, because now we're linking Alzheimer's to a blood sugar issue, which we're now calling type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's disease, dementia, depression, and yes, death. I believe it's in the top 10 leading causes of death in our country right now. So we're going to just kind of isolate it. There are many toxins that are being looked at in terms of the link between toxicity and the development of type 2 diabetes. But what I want you guys to understand is that a lot of these toxins that we are exposed to, as Ryan talked about, through our personal care products, through our food, through our drinking water, through household cleaning products, a lot of these toxins are hormone mimickers. So what happens with, especially with dioxins, which you see on this slide, dioxins are pretty much found, are created when we create pesticides, herbicides, rodenticides. And what happens is they get into the body and they have an affinity for the cell receptor site that insulin normally attaches to on the cells. So what that means is if insulin is the hormone that's responsible for shuttling glucose out of the blood and into the cell to be used for energy, insulin can no longer attach to the cell because it is now blocked by these toxins. And so what you end up with is, an adequate amount of insulin. You're making insulin, but your blood sugar cannot be used for energy. And so our blood glucose levels skyrocket, leading to a diagnosis of type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. Over 90% of the exposure, as I said, is in food, primarily in meat and dairy products, fish and shellfish. So these would be conventional meat and dairy products, farm fish, Atlantic fish and shellfish. So places where, there's an opportunity for exposure in that animal. And then when we consume that animal product, we're then consuming those toxins that have accumulated in the tissue of the animals. The half-life of dioxins in the body, this is what gets me, is up to 11 years. And that's according to the World Health Organization. So what that means is, let's say you have a hamburger or a milkshake or, cheese, whatever it is. And, 11 years later, your body still has half of that toxin in your cells. Because it just is persistent and it's very hard for the body to eliminate dioxins. So that's why this is so critical that people understand where the exposure is coming from and limiting the source. Then we can go on to how do we get rid of these toxins that are so difficult for the body to detoxify. And it's no surprise that fetuses and newborn babies are most vulnerable when their cells are rapidly multiplying, they're growing. Toxins really do impact that. Arsenic, this is something I mentioned a few minutes ago, but we find arsenic in drinking water, unfortunately, especially where we are in North Idaho. The arsenic levels in our drinking water is really high. It occurs naturally. But there have been 38 published studies that link arsenic exposure to type 2 diabetes. So this is a problem. We know it's impacting insulin as well. And what the research has also shown is that the total body load of pesticides, so you have a high exposure to pesticides. Let's say you've never really consumed organic produce or organic animal products. This is typically a reliable predictor of type 2 diabetes. So again, we're going to discuss Alzheimer's disease and dementia. So this is now, Alzheimer's is the third leading cause of death in our country. It's very odd now that you would find somebody that hasn't personally been affected by this disease because it's affecting 1 in 10 Americans over the age of 65. 75% of people who have the disease have not even been diagnosed yet. So $259 billion in Medicare costs in 2017. I've seen several reports that it is predicted that Alzheimer's disease is going to bankrupt Medicare within the next 15 to 20 years if we don't do something to change what's happening. Because by 2050, the projected costs are going to be $1.1 trillion. In 2018, the U.S. National Institute of Health spent $1.9 billion on Alzheimer's disease research. However, despite all of that money, Alzheimer's disease drug development has a failure rate of 99%. So we're spending all this money to research drugs that do not work. They clearly do not work. So we're really spending our money in the wrong place. And you can't deny the fact that Alzheimer's disease is rising at an alarming rate. We saw an 89% increase in deaths from this disease between the year 2000 and 2014. So you can probably get my sense of urgency that I'm trying to get across here. But the good news is that a lot of the functional medicine community is now really focusing on the different types of Alzheimer's. So now we've identified 6 different subtypes of Alzheimer's, and how we can identify through different lab testing early on, and identify, if a person is falling into one category, what can we change in that person's lifestyle to really, change the course of this disease. And prevent it from becoming a full-blown diagnosis. So type 1, just really quickly, I'll run through these. Type 1 is considered inflammatory Alzheimer's. There is a type 1.5 or 1.5 because it's in between type 1 and type 2. So type 2 is considered mitochondrial dysfunction. These are the powerhouses of our cells, the energy creators of our cells. And this would largely be due to diet and blood glucose levels. Type 3, this is the one that I'm most concerned about for today's webinar, because this is caused by toxins, including biotoxin exposures like mold, so mycotoxins. And these interfere with our mitochondria as well, and also how our brain utilizes glucose for energy. Type 4 is typically due to vascular impairment, and type 5 would be due to a history of head trauma. So you can see how different those subtypes are, but we can't just lump Alzheimer's into one category and just assume that it's a one-size-fits-all. That's probably why we're seeing a 99% failure rate in our drug protocols that are part of the standard of care currently. We also have lead as an issue. If you look at severe lead toxicity, clinically, that'll present with memory loss. It will impact IQ levels. So we know that lead can also be playing a part in this. Nitrates and nitrites. So these are found in processed meats, your hot dogs, your deli meats. And these actually convert to what are called nitrosamines in the body. And this has been linked, nitrosamines has been linked to an increased incidence of Alzheimer's disease. So this is why it's very important that you're paying attention to what you're eating. High levels of pesticides. We just talked about pesticides in type 2 diabetes, but high levels of pesticides increase a person's risk of developing dementia. And in the research, the patients who had the highest level of exposure had over a 6-fold increased risk of developing dementia than those with the lowest levels of pesticides. So we know that these chemicals are impacting the health of our nation. Can't really talk about Alzheimer's without addressing mercury. Mercury is very interesting. So inorganic mercury readily crosses the blood-brain barrier. So it gets in there, it gets shuttled in, lodges into our nervous system cells or our neurological tissue, and it likes to stay there. It is very difficult once mercury has gotten into our neural tissue, like the brain. It is very difficult for it to be pulled out or eliminated by the body. As you can see on the slide, the half-life of methylmercury in the brain is 22 years or more. That means if you're exposed to mercury 22 years later, your body has only eliminated half of that substance from the brain. And so you've still got half of it left to get rid of. That's if you've been exposed one time. So this is a big deal. The top sources that we've managed to find are dental amalgam fillings. So these are very, very popular, unfortunately, but this is probably the main source for exposure for people. And, when you first get an amalgam filling put in or when you're getting it removed, these are the 2 times when your exposure is at its highest. And it's not just to the patient, it's also to the dentist and the workers with the dentist. So that's a problem. Now, we do recommend a biological dentist. If you're planning on getting amalgam fillings removed, you have to do it properly. Biological dentists follow a specific protocol for your safety and for their safety. So don't just go to any dentist and get these things taken out. You want to do it properly. And fish, especially Atlantic fish, tend to have a higher content of mercury. The bigger the fish, the higher the mercury content, because it just bioaccumulates in the fish tissue. So we recommend, doing wild caught, Pacific fish would be probably your best bet. And, we love fish for its benefits and its healthy fats, but just make sure that the source is something that you trust. So what do we do about this? Well, I can tell you it's absolutely imperative, if this is something that you're at all concerned about, to get tested annually. We have a specific test that we recommend. It's called the HTMA test, and it can look at heavy metals and mineral deficiencies, which can really just give us a picture of how well your body's detoxifying and then what kind of toxins are we really dealing with. And it's a very easy test that I know Cece is going to get into in just a minute. But the next thing is really, as Dr. Ryan mentioned earlier, is to eliminate the source wherever possible, because you want to stop exposing yourself first. Because, you look at the half-life of some of these toxins and they just accumulate and they stay there. So let's get rid of the source first. Now we can focus on, okay, let's get rid of those toxins that are now stored in our tissues. How can we do that? Working with the body's detoxification channels. So you're going to consume organic produce to avoid pesticide, herbicide, rodenticide exposure. Consume organic meat and dairy products to avoid those accumulated toxins. Again, see a biological dentist to remove those amalgam fillings whenever possible. And then use those detoxification protocols that are gentle, that support your body's natural pathways, just to help liberate those stored toxins.
Awesome stuff. Way to hit it out of the park.
Thanks, honey.
No, there's so much information, and I know that at this point you might feel just a little bit overwhelmed, and that's totally okay. You got to remember, we've been diving into this stuff for well over a decade, almost 15 years now. And so again, it's about baby steps. You don't have to go home and do everything that you learned on the webinar today, but be on the lookout for those 1 to 2 things that you can take action on right now to start moving you in the right direction. And then you can always come back to this webinar later and then start checking more things off of your list. So awesome stuff. There's without a doubt a huge connection between toxicity and the development, manifestation of disease, and even early death. So it's definitely something you need to pay attention to and start being intentional about. You can't just keep your head in the sand and pretend like it's not an issue, because death gets 1 out of 1. Last time I checked, and you don't want it to get you sooner than it should. So this is a way that you can really lower your risk, not just for early death, but for enjoying, your later years. We all want to age well, not just live a long time. We want to have a long health span, not just a long lifespan. And there is a massive difference. So with that, we're going to move on to Cece's portion of the webinar. Just to give Cece a quick introduction and shout out. She is a certified nutritional therapy practitioner, certified in restorative wellness and holistic mineral balancing. And then in our office with patients, she specializes in digestive health and adrenal health. One of the biggest things that she does for us or for patients in our clinic, is she helps people uncover the 20% that is different from person to person. I always say that when it comes to nutrition and supplements and just being healthy and having a healthy lifestyle, 80% of what's out there is universal, meaning 80% of the tips and information, it's pretty universal, right? But there are, it's kind of like plants. Like there are basic things that make a plant healthy, like sunlight, soil, water. But there are also different types of plants. Like some you can't have out in the sun too long. Some they can't be in the dark too. There are these little intricacies and variations, and the same goes with you and I, right? And part of it's genetics, part of it's your lifestyle, and part of it's what you've done to your lifestyle up to this point. And so Cece is really good at uncovering that last 20% to help people dial it in and make it really customized and specific to you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. Cece, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, you did such a good job explaining what I do. Thank you.
Well, you're amazing. We love having you on the team.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm so excited to share with everyone today. I'm going to talk about several different topics. And the first thing I want to do is really paint a picture for you. So you think you're healthy, but you don't feel vibrant. You struggle to find the energy to get through the day. You're irritable. Your stomach isn't acting right. And all of those headaches. Oh my goodness, can you relate to this at all? Because I know I have been able to relate to this in the past. These types of ailments, they affect many of us in our daily lives. They're not super serious. They're not necessarily serious enough to go to the doctor, or maybe you did go to the doctor, but you were told there was nothing wrong, but they still tend to drag you down. They're wearing away at your resistance, and they're just leaving you feeling like you're just getting old. But the good news is, it has nothing to do with aging. Instead, you may simply just be surrounded by too many toxins. So I'm excited to talk to you about how toxins impact your health. So the first thing I'm going to do is talk about your gut, and it's really important. I want to share about the gut so you can get a good idea of why your gut is so critical to your health. So if you've ever been told that your gut is your second brain, well, it's totally true. Your mighty microbiome, or what you call your gut, it's so incredibly important, and it controls every aspect of your health. So I'm really excited to share how toxins impact gut health and lead to even more toxicity in your body. So first, let me quickly share just the importance of your microbiome so you really can make that connection. So we are a community of living bacteria, yeast, viruses, which all live in our gut. Your gut is the control center of your body. It has many roles and functions that include assimilating and absorbing your nutrients, making key vitamins, regulating your metabolism and blood sugar, and influencing both your gene expression and your brain chemistry. So in a nutshell, your gut not only digests the food you eat and drink and breaks that food into nutrients to be absorbed and utilized, but it regulates your metabolism. So you have to think about weight loss and energy. And it has a dramatic impact on mood and mental health. 90% of serotonin is made in your large intestine, and over 50% of dopamine as well. So you have more neurotransmitters in your gut than in your brain. And then lastly, your gut has a huge role in your immunity. 70% of your immune system is in your gut. You have these massive armies with generals and soldiers inside you that work super hard to fight off any disease, inflammation, and toxins. So it's no wonder that Hippocrates said all diseases begin in the gut. So how does toxicity impact digestion and the health of your gut? Truly, in simple terms, toxins alter the gut microbiota. So those tens of trillions of bacteria in your gut, they're altered and they lead to what is called dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is linked to many types of health issues, mainly inflammation. So as you can see in this photo, inflammation then leads to autoimmune disease, endocrine dysfunction, brain health, allergies, skin conditions, obesity, diabetes. I mean, the list goes on and on. Have you ever heard of leaky gut? This is super important to learn about. So I'm going to talk about it for a few minutes. When we eat foods and drinks that have heavy metals, that have chemicals and toxins, a lot of what Dr. Erin just shared. So like think about the GMOs, the preservatives, the additives, the pesticides. This can lead to inflammation of your intestinal lining. And your intestinal lining is only one cell thick. That's it, you guys, one cell. So your lining has these super tight junctions, and only digested food molecules are supposed to fit through those to be then used by the rest of your body. So what I want you to do is picture a screen, just like what's shown here on the slide. So picture the screen on your window. It has tiny holes for the air to flow through. And if there's damage to the screen and a large hole forms, then flies and bees get into the house, right? So that's just like with your gut. When your gut lining no longer has tight junctions and becomes what is called leaky, you have undigested large molecules of food getting through, toxins are getting through, the bad bugs are getting through, and they go to your blood. And your immune system then marks these unwanted molecules as foreign invaders and attacks. That then leads to the inflammation, the autoimmune disease, etc. But here's one other thing that you really need to note. Not only do the toxins come into the bloodstream, but they also go straight to the liver and they clog up your detoxification mechanisms, making you even more vulnerable to harm from other toxins. So this is how our toxic load builds up over time, and we start to store toxins in our tissues and our fat. So think of that bucket Dr. Ryan was talking about. That bucket is filling up, and now those toxins are being stored in your tissues and fat. And unfortunately, what happens is when your liver is overburdened and these toxins end up circulating throughout the body, they are going to cause havoc everywhere they go. So think about this. If toxins deposit in the brain, you might have foggy thoughts, possible memory loss under confusion, and even the start of neurological diseases like MS, Parkinson's disease. If the toxins deposit in your joints, think about arthritis and joint pain. If the toxins deposit in your organs that produce white blood cells, your immune system will be weakened, making you more susceptible to illness, and including cancer. So toxins have a huge impact on our digestive system and our health. So I'm sure after hearing all of that, you can imagine how tired your body can become when you're dealing with toxins and leaky gut. So now let's talk about toxicity and energy. And I'm going to paint another picture for you. So think of toxins and energy as if you're locked out of your house. So you try to enter by going around the back. You might even have to get the ladder out, climb up it, break into the window. You get into your house, right? But you've used tons of energy, and it's the same thing for your body. So when vital elements or nutrients are substituted for toxins, you're going to be tired, and your body is amazing. It's still going to function with toxins in it, but it's going to require a lot more energy, and it's not going to be as efficient, okay? So I want to talk about the mitochondria. Dr. Erin mentioned a little bit about the mitochondria, and quickly, I just want to share that your mitochondria, these are your energy powerhouses that live inside each cell, and you have hundreds to thousands in each cell. They turn your food into energy, and they're very, very sensitive to damage from toxins. So this is why when you're thinking about doing a detox, you need to think about detoxifying at the cellular level. Because you guys, you are only as healthy as your cells are. And we don't usually go around talking to our friends or, go in and talk to our doctor and say, hey, how are my cells doing? But this is truly where our health becomes either poor or it's optimal. So now let's talk about toxicity and weight loss. Oops, sorry about that. So can being toxic make you fat? And the answer is absolutely yes. So any one of the 80,000 chemicals introduced into our world since the Industrial Revolution can interfere with your metabolism and cause weight gain, even when you just stick to a normal calorie diet. We call these toxins obesogens. So they are foreign chemical compounds that can lead to obesity. And they generally disrupt normal development, hormonal balances, fat storage, and your metabolism. And these chemicals also disrupt energy levels and energy balance and modify the regulation of appetite and the feeling of being full, which this can then lead to overeating and in turn obesity. So we have two types of obesogens. They're either pharmaceutical or environmental. And this chart here, this photo here, it gives a good description of what those are. So there's different types of obesogens that impact the body in a variety of different ways. And what that does is they increase the number in or size of fat cells. They're affecting the body's regulation of hunger and fullness. They're changing metabolism by storing calories as fat. So as we become more toxic, we get fatter. And the obesity rates just continue to rise in the United States. So here's some statistics for you, and I really find these startling because some of these that I'm sharing with you have to do with our children. So in the United States, the percentage of children and adolescents affected by obesity just continues to triple. And while many experts blame that increase on our diet, right, and lack of exercise, according to the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences and the Environmental Protection Agency, being in contact with obesogens in your early childhood can lead to unhealthy, excessive weight gain. There were other researchers at the University of Michigan, University of California, Berkeley, and Columbia University that reported that 7 to 9-year-old children who were exposed to higher levels of BPA, which is a common food packaging ingredient, increased their percentage of body fat. So we have to even think about our kids and toxins and what they're exposed to so early on in their life. It's important to remember that when the body is exposed to a large amount of toxins, levels that it cannot safely excrete, it stores these toxins in our adipose tissue. So think body fat, and it does this to protect us. Belly fat is the fat produced to protect us from the toxins that we accumulate over time. So toxins can reprogram our DNA to change our biochemistry to produce fat. So if we're trying to lose weight and you're struggling, just please remember the relationship between toxins and fat storage and the importance of detoxifying your body. Okay, so now how do you detoxify? So first of all, what's super important is you need to make sure your detoxification pathways are open. So you need to have good hydration as toxins are released in your urine. You need strong lungs as toxins are released as you breathe. You need to sweat as toxins are released through your skin. And you need a healthy gut so toxins can be detoxified in your liver, then transported through your bile and be released efficiently through your stool. And then lastly, you need your lymph system to be supported so you can avoid congestion. Detoxification happens mostly in the liver, and there's 3 phases. So phase 1 begins to process the toxins. It's often creating free radicals and other more harmful substances at this time. So that's why it's super important that you're able to have your body reach phase 2, which is when toxins are further broken down into water-soluble compounds. And then phase 3 moves these remaining toxins out of the cells to be excreted. And each one of these detox phases, it's truly a complicated network of different biochemical reactions. And this happens by the assistance of dozens of different cofactors and different enzymes and nutrients. So it's really important that we're doing the best that we can through nutrition and supplementation and avoiding toxins to help support the detoxification pathways in our bodies, and especially when doing a detox. So one of my favorite ways to support a healthy detox is to take a supplement or a detox system that truly supports those detoxification pathways that I just shared about. So one of my favorite products, as well as Dr. Erin and Dr. Ryan's, and what we were kind of hinting to in the beginning of the webinar, is the Detox system, which is a full body detox. It's a 2-part system. It's focusing on detoxifying at the cellular level, and it's also a full body detox. So it's getting to the intra and extracellular, and there's intra and extracellular antioxidants to address toxins that are inside and outside of your cells, which is so important. This product also provides those necessary nutrients that I was talking about that's needed for the 3 phases of detoxification. So there's key amino acids, there's key antioxidants that are critical for this process. One of those antioxidants that's in this product is my absolute favorite antioxidant to talk about, and that's glutathione. And it is the master detoxifier of your body. So this product not only has glutathione in it, but it also has many of those precursors that your body needs to be able to produce it on its own. It also has key nutrients like activated charcoal that's going to bind to the toxins and help you eliminate. So it's not only cellular, it's also supporting your detoxification pathways and promoting effective elimination, so you're getting those toxins out of your body. And it's safe, it's gentle, it's effective, and it goes along with your body's natural ability to detoxify, unlike so many other products that are out there in the market. So many other products have harsh laxatives, they are rapidly releasing the toxins, and this product does not do that. So we highly, highly recommend it. Okay, so now, how do you test for toxicity? Dr. Erin shared a little bit about hair tissue mineral analysis, and this is my favorite test, and I'm going to share why. Identifying heavy metal toxicity is not always easy. Toxic metals will stay in the blood circulation for a very long time after exposure. But hair is the chosen tissue to detect the presence of toxic metals in the body, because there's up to 3 times more concentrated forms of heavy metal in your hair than in your blood or your urine. So this is making the accumulation of toxic metals much easier to identify and measure versus versus urine or blood testing. This type of testing also helps to identify energy patterns. So we're looking at oxidation rate. We're looking at thyroid and adrenal functioning. And this is important because since most common toxic metals get sequestered in your organs and your tissues, they're only going to mobilize when, first of all, they're challenged to be mobilized, and secondly, when the body produces enough energy to eliminate them. So a hair tissue mineral analysis test can really help us identify what your body energy levels are like. And I have up here on the slide what a test result looks like. So not only is it testing for heavy metals, but it's looking at mineral deficiencies and imbalances. There are also key minerals that become toxic in the body as well. So it's able to identify that. Again, looking at oxidation rate, energy levels, thyroid and adrenal function, also looking at inflammation, tendency for inflammation, how is your body able to utilize glucose, carbs, and protein. So there's so much information that can come back from this type of testing. And so in my opinion, hair tissue mineral analysis, it's the best test to use to determine the presence of heavy metals in your body, as well as your body's ability to eliminate them. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Dr. Ryan.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cece. Man, that's so good. Oh,
sorry.
You want to push that down a little bit?
Okay.
So yeah, I want to thank everybody for just hanging in there. This has been an awesome webinar. Just so you guys know, the detox events that we used to do in the past used to be an hour and a half to 2 hours. And we found that it was just a lot of science, a lot of stuff. And so we've worked really hard over the last 6 to 12 months with me and Dr. Erin. Cece has been an invaluable resource. We've really tried to pare this down just to the most essential aspects of detoxification and the most important action steps. And that's, again, what we've wrapped up into the 21-day detox jumpstart. So with this webinar, you'll get a download for the jumpstart. So if you're watching this from a link that you got through the email, you're going to get this Detox Jumpstart emailed to you. And then if you're watching this on YouTube, all you have to do is email the email address in the description, and we will email you back a copy of the 21-day Detox Jumpstart. So either way, you can either reply to the email that you got this webinar in, or you can email the email address that's in the YouTube description, and we'll email this back to you ASAP. Like I said in the beginning, the difference isn't doing, right? All this information does you no good whatsoever if you don't actually do something with it. So I hope you feel empowered. I hope you feel energized. I hope you feel equipped and clear on your next action step. I also know that there's people that are watching this webinar that they really do want to take it to the next level. It's not good enough just to have the information and a go do it yourself guide. They want some continued coaching. So I want to tell you about just a special offer that we put together just really briefly. Obviously, you don't have to take advantage of this, but I know that there's people out there that really are interested in taking things to the next level with their detoxification. And so we sat down and we put together what we thought was the best, most efficient, effective, and low cost option for taking your detoxification efforts to the next level. This is called the Complete Detox Jumpstart Kit. So I want to explain exactly what's in this kit. The first thing that you're going to get this anyway, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of aspects of the Detox Jumpstart Guide. There's over 25 pages of what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, week by week, and even day by day, and even separated into morning and afternoon. So an incredible value. Dr. Erin put over 100 hours into this thing. That's over a $45 value. Next thing you're going to get is what Cece was talking about, the HTMA home test kit and the report of findings. So this is really simple. When you sign up to receive this special offer, all you're going to do is you're going to click the link that's either included in this email, or there will be an additional link in the description on YouTube, and it'll say special offer, webinar offer. You'll click that link, you'll schedule a time. That's going to be your consultation with Cece. And then immediately when you sign up for that time and you pay for your slot, you're going to get all this stuff emailed back to you. And we're going to either mail you your HTMA test, or if you live local and you want to come into the office, we can do this in person, and we can even help coach you through the process. But you're going to get the HTMA test, which is going to look for micronutrient deficiencies and heavy metals. You're going to perform the test. It's very easy. Like Cece explained, you're just going to cut a little bit of hair, fill up the envelope, send it away, and then 2 to 3 weeks later, we get the results. Cece spends 1 to 2 hours going over the results to prepare for you. And then she also spends 30 to 45 minutes with you one-on-one, just explaining the results, what everything means, and then most importantly, what to do about it, right? And then she'll give you action steps. So all of that's included with the Detox Jumpstart Kit. Normally, this in and of itself is $199. So you're going to get that included with the Jumpstart Kit. So you'll get both the Jumpstart Guide and the HTMA test and report of findings. We're also going to throw in a box of the detox system. So I think it's very important, no matter where you're at, to start detoxifying your body. I hear people say all the time in the office that they don't feel like it's worth doing the detox because they're not ready. They haven't gotten rid of all their toxic personal care products and their soaps and cleaners. Nothing could be further from the truth. The more toxic you are right now, the more you need this, right? I mean, I think everybody should use the detox system at least twice a year. People always ask me, how often should I detox? My answer is, as long as you're being exposed to toxins, which unfortunately is every single day, right? Even if you're being intentional with your lifestyle, there's just some level of toxic exposure that's unavoidable. I personally detox every quarter, so at least once every 3 months. My bare minimum recommendation for the average person is every 6 months, right? So everybody's a little bit different. Also, if it's your very first time doing a clinical detoxification protocol, then you might want to do 2 to 3 months in a row. Again, that's where the HTMA test comes in handy, because we can actually look at your levels and coach you through, how much and for how long you really need to be detoxifying. So normally the detox system by itself is $50. We're going to throw that into the Jumpstart Kit as well. So you're going to get the 21-day Detox Jumpstart Guide. You're going to get the HTMA home test and report of findings and the detox system. And then a couple of bonuses here. Cece actually went to great lengths to create this detox recipe guide. So we have people ask us all the time, hey, is it good enough just to eat healthy while I'm detoxifying? And yeah, you should eat healthy, but there are specific foods that will help accelerate the detoxification process in your body. And we put together this recipe guide to help you with that. So there's everything from drinks to desserts, main dishes, snacks, everything that you would need to help detoxify at least for the next 21 days. That's a $25 value, so we're going to include that in there. And then we're also going to include a shopping list. So this is kind of the final question. People always ask, well, where do I get all this stuff? And so we've broken it down into rooms so that you can take each room in your home including your pantry, right? And just slowly start to replace the toxic things that you run out of with clean, healthy, non-toxic items. And that's kind of how we recommend doing it, so that it's not really overwhelming to go try to clean everything out in your home and spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on new everything. We like to implement and encourage people to use the replacement rule, meaning just as you run out of stuff, use this reference guide and determine, where to get it and what to get so that you can replace your toxic stuff with non-toxic items. Again, that's another $25 value. We're going to include that as well. And so if you added it all up, if you were to buy all this stuff independently, it would cost you $344. But because you're on the webinar, because we want to just give you a special opportunity and say thanks for spending some time with us, I hope you got a bunch of value. And we also want to give you some incentive to take things to the next level. Because again, deep down, our mission is to help you win your health so that you can win your life. And I realize one of the biggest reasons why people don't win their health, it's not because they don't know what to do, it's just because they're not doing it, right? And it's because of procrastination. Procrastination is the thief of all hopes and dreams. And I believe it's the number one thief of optimal health and a whole fulfilled life as well. So because you're on the webinar today, we're going to give you a special offer. If you click the link that was in the email that you got, or if you're watching this on YouTube, there should be a link in the description as well. If you click that link just for the next few days, this offer is going to be available to you, and you're going to get everything in the Detox Jumpstart Kit for just $197. So normally it's $344, but again, just as a way to say thanks and give you the opportunity to take your detox to the next level, if you click that link, and again, this is only going to be live for the next few days. Cece's schedule is very busy. We have a limited number of these that we can give away at this price. So if you're interested in that, all you got to do in the email that you got this webinar in, click the link that you got along with the email. It'll say special webinar offer. You just click that link, or if that link is in the YouTube description, same thing. Click the link. It'll take you to Cece's schedule. You'll determine the day and the time that you want to meet with Cece. It'll ask for your information, and you'll also pay for your Detox Jumpstart Kit at that time as well. We will immediately be notified that you selected a time and took advantage of the offer. You'll get a confirmation email, and then you'll also get a welcome email from Cece personally saying, hey, thanks for opting in. And then she'll give you further instructions about how to go about getting the test kit, executing the test, setting up a time for report of findings. If we have to mail you your detox or your test kit, we're going to get all of that information from you. But again, it all starts with you clicking that link so that you can take advantage of the webinar only price of just $197. So I hope that was good for you guys. I hope you got a ton of value out of it. Again, our mission is to help you win your health so that you can win at life. But remember, the difference is in the doing. It's not information that's going to change you. It's the information plus application that creates the transformation.
That's right. Thank you, guys.
All right. We will see you next time.